Hey guys, so we have a topic today that I'd like to address. And I think it's going to be a good one. It's something that I don't think us as contractors and, you know, other service professionals really talk about. And that is what makes a good apprentice. Okay. What is an apprentice? An apprentice is a guy or gal, who is entering into a trade, whether it's plumbing, electrical, roofing, general contracting, whatever it might be. Okay. And their sole purpose, the reason why they're called an apprentice is because they're learning. Okay. They're going to get paid while they learn, and they're going to get paid well usually. However, guaranteed, the apprentice is going to be doing all the crap work that the journeyman doesn't want to do. Okay. But that's okay. You got to go through the crap, to get through the gold. And so, what I want to talk about are qualities that make a good apprentice, okay? A good apprentice to me is a good employee, okay? And a good learner, or at least someone willing to learn and put their time and effort in. We can look at that and say, okay, how many of you guys went to college? Well, I did very little college. I was a terrible student in that department. However, you put a set of tools in my hands, some wrenches, I could fix damn near anything. So you got to figure out what side of that spectrum you're on. Once you have that, then you can look at, okay, well, what makes a good employee? A good employee will be sober. Okay, that's what we're really hoping for. On time, a willingness to learn, and a willingness to be proactive and try to learn as much as they can in the short period of time that they are going to be an apprentice. Typically, an apprenticeship is going to be about 5 years. Okay. That is ideal, honestly. You can do it in 4 depending on the trade, but you're still going to be lacking a lot of experience. And even then, even us who are journeymen and contractors, we constantly learn, believe it or not. Always updating on new softwares, new techniques, new repair practices, whatever it might be. Then we're going to also look at an apprentice. You might have a dirty job, okay? If you have to crawl under houses, say you're a plumber, and you got to fix plumbing, or you got to run a new circuit as an electrician under a house, or maybe you're in my field, HVAC, heating and air conditioning, and you have to go under a house and replace all the ductwork, or repair some ductwork, or even maybe the systems underneath it. And you have times where crawl spaces might be 12 inches max, and it's very rocky, a lot of cement, and it is not fun. However, if you're going to be good at your craft and you're going to deliver a good product and you want a good reputation as a mechanic, these are the things you're going to have to do. Okay. What I also believe makes a good apprentice is being a good listener, because there's a lot of details that we try and show new guys, but they don't listen. Procedure 9 times out of 10 is going to be everything about our job. We're going to look at something and we're going to go step 1 through step 10 to either diagnose or make the repair. So listening is very important. Now let's also look at feelings, okay? I know, sounds dumb. However, let's talk about this. I have a lot of guys, young guys and old guys. I've taught guys 20 years older than me, and I've taught guys like 10, 15 years younger than me. What you got to understand is feelings do not have really much of a place in the trades, okay? It's a business-oriented environment. A lot of shit can happen. A lot of money can be on the line, as well as someone's life can be on the line. So if someone's going to look at you and say, hey, don't put your fucking foot there, don't put your fucking foot there. Listen to what he's saying. Or maybe he's saying, hey, route that pipe this way. Okay. And then you want to be Mr. Brainy Pants and fucking do it this way. Well, I'm sorry. You're either going to get fired or you're going to be made to redo it, or both. Why? Because the fact is that if you're not willing to listen and you can't put your feelings aside with how we communicate this message, then you're never going to have a good place in the trade. You're just not. And be willing to make mistakes. A lot of people, they are afraid of failure because of what kind of feeling that might present or what kind of mistakes that they may make. When the fact is, mistakes are going to happen. The only way you're going to learn is through failure. If you aren't failing and you aren't making mistakes, then you aren't learning, because no one comes out of the fucking womb knowing all this shit. You can study every book in the world. Okay, you can watch all the YouTube videos on how to do something. Until you go and do it, put your tools on it, put your hands on it, you're just never going to know. And so you got to be willing to make those mistakes, because chances are, as an apprentice, your journeyman or your bosses, whoever, they're willing to allow you to make those mistakes. They're willing to allow you to fuck something up as a teaching moment. Because the fact is that unless you fuck it up and you see what happens as a result, then you're never going to know why you're doing it your way you're doing it. Okay? I've met guys who have been in the trade 20, 25 years. They learned from the guy who was before them when they were a teenager, and they never updated. And, they make mistakes all the time, but they also don't want to learn. Those are dangerous people. They shouldn't be in this fucking trade. Honestly, it gives all of us a bad name. You hear Chuck in the truck? That's who we're talking about. Realistically, being an apprentice is not the most difficult task. You're going to have a lot of egos getting bruised. You're going to have feelings getting hurt. It is what it is. You get over it. You know why? Is because eventually when you're going to be a journeyman in your field, you're going to be making, depending on your market, anywhere from $35 an hour all the way up to potentially $80, $90 an hour, depending on your specialty. Bay Area, San Francisco, San Jose, that kind of Bay Point area in California, some of the highest trade markets in the world. Guys, depending on what they're specializing, in a controls environment, in an industrial controls environment, not unheard of, with a full benefit package of retirement, your vision, health, and all that, and your hourly wage to be upwards of $125 an hour or more. You can earn straight wage of $70 or higher in the Bay Area being a good quality technician. Now, granted, you're going to work for a larger company, most likely. And for some folks, the union way is the good way. Not for me. Too political. I don't like that bullshit. Because that's all it is. It was, when I got out of the union, it became more about who was scratching whose fucking back, instead of trying to teach the next generation of what's to come, what's the technology, how do we do it. I've worked on equipment that's as big as a house all the way down to equipment that serves a house, even a mobile home. Or even if you're familiar with mini splits, we get down to about half a ton and under. So being an apprentice is something more of us need. We need apprentices. We need the next generation to learn, and we need you guys to step up. And one thing I do want to mention, and this actually brings me to an interesting story. There's a guy I used to work with out when I was in the union. And gosh, when I met him, he had to be early 40s, maybe getting to mid 40s. And he was just turning out of his 5th year as a journeyman. And one of the hardest fields to get in. And I found it interesting because being an apprentice is typically a young man's game. I'm 3rd generation tradesman, 2nd generation pipe fitter. And what I found is, normally you'll see guys mid-20s and under start getting in because they want to make the good money. They didn't go to school. Maybe they didn't even graduate, or they just got their GED. And they needed to make money to support a family. And that was kind of the only way they did it. And then to see this old fuck come in and make all, not just the young guys, but even the younger journeymen who turned out before him look like dog shit. And I have found harder workers in the older generation, I would say Gen X, maybe even a little younger, because they really learned how to work. They learned what it meant to produce and what it meant to be loyal, for the most part, to their company. The newer generation is not so much. They're out for the money. And I do not recommend that as an apprentice, that you maintain that thinking. Because if you can master your craft, you can go anywhere in the world. So really, pay is not relative. Really, it should be your education. Where are you learning the best? Where is your skills being honed the best? Where are you getting the different various exposure to equipment, different systems, and so on and so forth, that you may be dealing with. So when it comes to being an apprentice, I highly recommend that, if you're under the age of 25 and you are not willing, and you're willing to get dirty, and you're not willing to let your ego get in the way, and you want to learn and you can listen, show up on time and be sober, not an alcoholic and not a drug addict. I mean, union, they're going to control you a lot more, but, if you're on the private sector side like myself, sometimes we're willing to look the other way on some stuff. However, as soon as it starts getting involved into work or having an effect on work, so you're showing up late, you have poor